So my anonymous donor has come through and we have another one. This is quite amazing. Obviously the tools are removed and stuff, but you know, this is still a second shot. And I think if I zoom in here, we can see the tank does look like it may have fractured in there. It's got that sort of stuff there, but the valves will be okay. I can work with that. We find ourselves on my desk in time for story time. And today's story time is going to be about the story of how I got my Victorinox cyber tool. Now, once upon a time, I had a Victorinox Swiss Flame. Now, I found one at auction for about $400, and I had some fun with it. I ended up dropping it into a bag full of pieces, drilling all the rivets out, because my original one, it did what all of these do, and the lighter failed. And so the one I got at auction, I was hoping would be repairable, after I saw a YouTuber by the name of Fit to Survive. Now, he managed to repair these and got a bit of an idea. So I got one, drilled the rivets out, pulled it apart, got the lighter apart, and I got it working with his expertise. And then the lighter tank exploded. Well, not exploded, but it fractured in such a way that is not repairable. So I went down a whole saga of making a whole new tank, and got it gas tight, and I got it working, and then I snapped the end off the valve. And then an anonymous donor dropped this on my lap. It's another one. Now, these were discontinued in about 2009, and there's a whole explanation of that in part 1 of this video, which the link will be below. So I have another shot at it, and I'm nervous, but I have tested. There's a little window down here. This one does hold gas, it doesn't leak, so the tank so far is intact. But I just so much missed this lighter. It was just so unbelievably handy, and I lived with it everywhere. It became something that I was known with. My wife has tried to find me replacement lighters. This one is not bad, and it's very nice, and I carry it with me a lot, but I miss this. It was just so nice being out bush when you've got to splice a rope, you've got to burn the end, start a campfire, all the rest, just so handy, and such a quality lighter. But it was all bespoke. So let's try round 2. Let's just put a little bit of gas in here, see what happens. Well, this tank holds gas, but no gas coming through. The clicker still works. Well, the tank holds gas. Okay, so I filled a shallow tray with some hot water and held it just so that the scales were just sitting in the water. And yes, it doesn't take a lot of heat, but just enough to make them just a tiny bit more pliable. They pop right off. Alright, welcome to my messy shed, wherever the light switches are. There is a whole bunch of junk in here that needs cleaning up. I'll get there eventually. I did, however, set up my camera tripod here and specially make or clean up this area for the last one that's disassembled, and I made the jig for it, and all the parts are laid out here. Okay, we have a couple of the little caps here that we saved off the last two, or last one. So let's see if we can get this lined up and go from here. Now, the one we will have to worry about, we're going to have to file the head off this one, but we want to get rid of these ones first. And so I'm going to use my little skinny punch here and just try and tap them through a little bit, and I hope that that cap just pops off. Now, it's about as much as I want to go with that. I don't want to damage the liner here too much. I might be able to get the rest of that with sandpaper. Alright. I did damage the liner, probably a touch more than I'd like. So we can take that off. I'm lining everything up bit by bit. It's our big blade. Here's our spring. Here's our corkscrew. We really only need to go as far as that lighter. There's our scissors. This one, this little one's going to be a pain, I'll bet. Okay, this is the bit we want to know about, the lighter. Let's go inside. Okay, we're going to undo the screw that retains things, and before I bump things and drop it, it's gone straight in the bag. This just slides out, but the last time I did this it was a little firm. I'm keen to be gentle this time. This one's coming out much more easily than the last one. So here's the problem child for everything, is that tank. Now there's a date stamp on it. Before I go much further, I'm going to put some tape on these pins to stop them falling out. Okay, let's take a look here. This looks like it's a 2008, or is it a 2003? I don't know what you guys think. Tell me in the comments what you reckon. This tank looks like it's in much better nick. So we're going to see if this has got the same fault as the other one. Now, there's a YouTube channel out there called Fit to Survive. Bloody awesome bloke. He has responded to all my emails too when I've been trying to get some help with this. And yeah, one thing he did discover is that if you undo this end of the valve, there's a little like foam piece in the middle here. And the idea, as I've discovered from disassembling this, is it's squashed in here to a different degree by adjusting this, and that regulates the gas flow. He basically drilled that out and it seemed to work just fine. I have ordered some replacement bits and I think I can replace that. But what we want to do at the moment, without disassembling all of this, is to see if we can just drill that bit out, gently of course, and see if we can get some gas flow. If we do, I'm going to put this aside intact like this until those spare regulator bits come in. Okay, so let's do this. Now this little piece here, this stopper, I may omit that when I put it back together, so that if I ever have to replace the regulating foam again, I can do that without having to disassemble and drill rivets. It will just require a little bit of, I guess, common sense that's not always common to check that. Okay, I have a little hand drill here. Before we get too much further, this is a two-piece setup. So this little piece screws in, but inside here is a little brass piece that it pushes up against that foam. Now last time it just fell out, but this time I'm going to use just a little bit of contact cleaner here. Maybe just create a little bit of pressure and a bit of, I guess, solvent to get rid of like some of the foam that might be gluing it in. Okay, and I left it sit for a moment and it popped out. So there's our little brass piece that connects on the back of that. And once bitten, twice shy. All these bits getting put away safely. Now this bit's going to take some time and gentle. We don't want to overdo this. All this is very bespoke and very thin metal. There's not a lot of tolerance in this. Alright, I've got a little bit coming out and I'm just trying to see with the light in here how much is left. Alright, we just had a chunk of stuff fall out, which I think is what we wanted. And I can see brass down there now. Can't really see it on camera. So we want to wash any remaining junk back out. So do that. We'll let that dry for a little bit. Now the valve that's going back in, I'll put a bit of plumber's grease on that as well. Okay, so with this, I'm going to drop our brass piece back in. Okay. And we're going to put this piece in gently. We're going to screw it in just finger tight for now. It's likely that when I do this, it's going to put way too much gas through. And that will probably be the way it stays until I get the other little gas regulation valves in here. Of course, to pass some gas through, we have to give it some gas. You know what I might do? Last time things flew apart when I tried this we might put it back in here, and I'll peel these up as I go, as I put things in. And that is the right way around, I believe. We'll reinsert all this very gently so that everything stays together still. We'll see if it works. Moment of truth. So as we expected, way too much gas through, but there's gas coming through, so that's what we wanted. Now, in the spirit of don't mess with it and then come back, mess with it and break it, I thought I'd just show you quickly with a little bit of gas in here that it will actually work. There's gas coming through. We just need to regulate the pressure now. And one little thing I saw on the ground that is super important, this tiny little broken O-ring. Definitely important. Among the things I did order with the replacement little gas regulation foam was a whole set of O-rings in various sizes, around about that size, so I may need one of them as well. Alright, so about a week or so has passed, and we're going to resume this project. So we're going to get our currently almost working lighter out, and some bits have arrived. I've got some O-rings, which I put in the same bag as these little green and white things. These are pressure regulating foam pads that are designed for butane gas. This is basically the thing that we drilled out at the back of the valve assembly in this. Now, as best I can tell, we need to pull this brass piece out, and we probably do need to give that a clean up because there's a bit of the old foam here which actually kind of looked green, so that's kind of promising. We do need to clean that up a bit. But yes, there's a potential that this could happen again, so yes, by chopping this little stopper off here, it means we can remove this valve assembly without disassembling the entire knife, and that brass piece was running away. So let's get that. We're going to do that with a pair of flush cutters here, hopefully. We can just snip that like this, and we can open that up and remove that, hopefully. There we go. Alright. Now that does mean I can over tighten it, and I can also loosen it completely till it shoots out like a bullet. So this will require just a bit of awareness and a bit of caution when reinstalling this myself. I'm going to clean this brass piece. We're going to try just a little bit of alcohol to start with. Sit it on there, and then we're just going to drag it across a cotton cloth. A little bit of 300 grit sandpaper, probably a bit aggressive for this, but I'm going to clean that end up. Looks even better after a wipe with a rag. Before we get too far down the track, and just the teeny tiniest little bit of plumber's grease here. Now this is a rubber safe grease that you use on tap fittings with rubber O-rings and stuff. And it's plastic safe as well, so it shouldn't damage the tank, and what it will do is it will help them to slide in and out and not chew out. So now we need to open this bag here and grab one of these little foam bits. Let's grab one of these guys. Now we can infer from the colour on there that the green side needs to go towards the brass piece here, and that needs to go in there. Whether this is going to go in that way, I don't know. And I dropped it. This is where my dexterity starts to become a problem, because I cannot feel what I'm doing. Alright. I want to hope that goes in about right. Alright, well I noticed that these things have got a taper on them, so the green bit is actually the smaller bit, and it does just seem to want to center that way, so I think we're going to put it in that way and just hope this works. Otherwise we will be repeating history all over again, drilling it out and starting again. Fortunately though, these are the right diameter. I am pleased about that. We don't want to put any excessive force on this given what happened last time. And that goes in much more easily, probably because of the lube. Most things go better with lube. Now I'm going to hold the tank assembly here, not the rest of the lighter. I'm going to try and put a little bit of gas in here. Is there a bit going in? There's a little bit of gas in there. That's all we need to do. Now, before I test this, I'm going to put it back in the assembly. I realise now I should have probably put tape on here to hold all these pins in. Now that goes that way. I'm going to put this back in to test. Very gently we go in. Okay, let's see what we get now. Okay, there is no gas coming through it. Alright, let's adjust again. Alright, I've turned the lights down a little bit here and we can see it just nicely. It is a bit windy in here, but it's working very reliably now. I am so happy. Alright, we will put this back together and we will work on the other one now. Alright, this has arrived, and this is important to the whole project with the Swiss Flame. This is a Victorinox Huntsman. Pretty much the smallest knife I could buy that has a saw blade. Now what I have is the Swiss Flame, and I wanted the Campflame like I used to have. Campflame had the saw blade. So you can guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to drill this apart and nick the saw blade off it. Go. Hello, bits and pieces. Alright, so I've been trying all week to work out how I'm going to peen the rivets to start with and get the taper on them. In a knife forum, somebody said get an old drill chuck. This is a new one. Put it in there along with the little cap you've got in here and peen it down that way. Now I also forgot that I don't have a ball peen hammer. I've only got a claw hammer. And a ball peen hammer has a ball for peening. I still feel weird saying peen. I did find this little thing which has got a whole like Russian nesting doll set of screwdrivers hiding in it. I don't know where I got this, but yeah, a whole bunch of little screwdrivers in this little hammer here. I'm going to see how this goes to peen the hammers down. Okay, I've done this up tighter. Let's see how we go here. Looks like that's peening in very nicely. A few more taps. Crucially, I'm not putting too much force into it, I hope. Let's loosen this up and see how that worked to get the rivet started. Oh, hey, that's worked perfectly. Look at that. First shot, perfect peening. Alright, I'm going to do a few more of these. Alright, we have 3 pre-peened rivets. Cool. Alright, now I'm at the point here where I'm reassembling things. I'm looking at the difference between the Swiss Flame and the Campflame. Off memory, I remembered having scissors, but maybe not. It looks like the Swiss Flame had the scissors, the Campflame had the saw. They never had both. So this is going to be a bit of a bastard. The way the corkscrew works is off the back of the knife springs. So I think that's got to go on the outside. So it's going to be scissors on the inner, knife next, or sorry, saw blade next, then knives on the outside. I think that's the way it's going to have to go. One little trick I found before getting the springs on is to put some insulation tape on your pliers. Then you can get in here and you can pull it back nicely without damaging anything. Now, something I'd forgotten about here is where this little piece goes, and I'm looking how that might work. If I open this, it tries to push this knife blade out, so that might be there to stop this back spring lifting that blade out when you close the corkscrew. So I think that's where it's meant to be. So I think we've got it all pretty right. We're so close to being right here, but something's not right with the corkscrew. Something's not right with this knife. Things are not sitting properly in this side, so I need to do a little bit of thinking. Looking at the way that's sitting, I think this liner probably needs to go in there somewhere. So give me a moment to have a look at this. Right, so I dragged out my cyber tool for reference. Now these park right up against the scissors, they're pretty good. And that little piece I have in the correct spot. That looks alright, they sit offset from each other a little, that's pretty normal. That looks alright. The corkscrew sits nice and flush in here, and the point points towards that. So from the look of this, the way I have that corkscrew is obviously backwards. It should be around in that direction, which seems odd to me, but fair enough. So I'll pull things up and just swap the corkscrew around. I think we should be right then. Yep, I've got to disassemble everything and start again. I've been putting it through from the wrong side. That's why things aren't stacking up. Okay, I think everything's right. We've got to wipe the oil down. I've been adding the occasional little drop of Singer sewing machine oil as I reassemble. The rivets surprisingly are long enough, and lighter still works. Hopefully if I'm gentle this will work nicely. I'm going to give all these sections a good squish together, make sure nothing's popped up where it shouldn't. Moment of truth. Do we still work? Cool. Oh, 3 or 4 millimeters above. That's where I'm going to peen this down. Alright. I don't want to rupture the tank in that lighter. Alright, so this rivet here is a little off center. This one here looks pretty perfect. So that one might need a little bit more work. We'll focus on the middle two next. Now, this one you just peen that over. You don't have a cap. This one has a cap which is a smaller size than these two. You've got to be mindful of that. Now, I'm not wearing glasses, so some weird sounds coming from next door. Anyway, my neighbour's mowing his lawns at exactly the time I'm filming, so that's what this happens. Right, let's dodge my eyesight here. Alright, we need to nick just a little bit more off that. Okay, now we peen this one down. And yes, I put my hammerhead back on. I think this is holding alright. I don't think I'm going to mess with perfection. If I can get the scales on with that, I think I'll be happy. Alright, moment of truth here. If there's been several of them already, let's put a workshop rag down. Time to try and fit the scales back on. I'm going to try and fit the original translucent ones on because I like them more. This is the one that goes over here. It pops on. All three have popped on nicely. Oh, we're going to get there. Oh, that one, that one, that one. I had to stop and take a moment. It works. I have a new one. It's been 20 years, guys. 20 years I have waited for this. Definitely worth the air show that's going on over the top. Lawnmower noise and all. And we have a saw blade in this one. We have our knives, our two knife blades that come in and out. That the knife blade has dropped in too far. That's a slight issue that I may have potentially spotted before. We might be able to pull that out and fix that. That's okay. Not the end of the world. Okay, so it cocked up ever so slightly on the back of the small blade. This is a large blade. Our small blade has dropped too low here. The little piece that stops the spring popping up and folding that out when you open the corkscrew here is on the wrong side. It should be on the same side as that. That's an easy fix. I can just take that rivet and push it back a bit. Unfortunately, it's the rivet that I got absolutely perfect. But yeah, that's fixable without disassembling everything. Alright, I got things swapped around and I got the new rivet through. This new blade is still going to sit quite a bit lower than the saw blade, and it's probably because it was never meant to go next to the saw blade. It still exists and it'll still function fine, but it will mean I'll need a tool or something to get that extra blade out. You know what, I think I'll be happy to live with that. So we're going to put it back together, which means popping this rivet back through a little bit, just tapping that through like a nail through the hole out the bottom. We'll get there and we'll re-rivet. Okay, we're back inside. Now, I redid the rivet 3 times in this because I took it out and put it in wrong, and then put it back in the right way again. So now it should be right. I hope. Oh, you're going to hear some swear words if it's not. So here's the two blades on this one. Small blade is on this end. That is in line with that blade. Yes, so that's, I've got that in the correct position. It still sits just a little bit lower than the saw blade should. I hope I haven't missed a piece, or it's up to the scales. That is still accessible just with a stick or a tool or something. It probably doesn't hurt to have a spare blade I don't use or is a little difficult to get to, because if I bugger one up in the field, I do like to have a good blade. I will work out how to fix that later. For now, I am just happy that this thing is working. For the first time in 20 years, we can do this. It does actually work. So, the only thing is when I let go of this, it doesn't quite come back right. So what we might be able to do, what I've read you can do, is after you've positioned bits, you can give a tool on that side just a bit of a wriggle, and it should loosen up the rivets on that side. That should be good. So now it works. Probably needs a bit more gas. I've used it a lot. How much gas have we got in here? Not a lot by the looks, or heaps, I can't tell. Either way, we will put some more gas in, see how she goes, and it works nicely. Oh, I have so missed this thing. Absolutely missed it like you wouldn't believe. I absolutely love this idea. I wish they kept making them. And a design flaw that could have been fixed if they took the stopper out so that you could remove this valve without having to disassemble the whole knife. It would be very easy to just replace that pressure regulating foam. I notice there is a little gap under the scales here. I may have to find myself a new set of scales, or use the old ones to put back on. It could also be this middle rivet here is just sitting a little proud. That's something I can fix later. But I'm done. I've got it working. Now there will be a part 3 to this where I try and make a replacement tank for the other one that I've got in bits. But not today. I'm done. So this is where it's going to be at. This is compared to the Cybertool XLT. So I'm happy. See you all later, and here's a thumbnail.